Yeah, so here we've got Ransom versus Katie. I was very much looking forward to this matchup. I know a lot of people were looking forward to this one, and they did not disappoint. This was a very exciting match. A lot of great
Yeah,
things happened here.
very fast paced.
Ransom starts out with the blue deck, Katie with the white deck for game one. And first move of the game here, I believe Katie is going to play her mysterious elixir.
I'm gunning for it. This is the player choosing speedy mode and then getting that arcane card out early, running down the timer. And the Thief in the Night is great first move, running your opponent's hand down. She is gunning for him right now.
Yeah. So, with the first play or first turn Mysterious Elixir, someone's trying to run this game out as fast as they can. So, Katie starting off very strong, letting Ransom know he cannot be complacent here. He's got to keep his eyes open and watch out for what's going to happen here.
Yeah, and she could have gone really lucky. I mean, she got probably the one card that wasn't so helpful for her.
Yeah. So while Ransom, did keep his better cards in his hand, he only has a couple. And we've talked about how important hand size is. So Ransom, he doesn't have too many options right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that Ancient Sage that Hypnotist can be super effective, but also if you play it at the wrong time, it doesn't do too much.
Yeah. So he ends up playing the Magician's Tactic. Interesting choice. Dragon's Wager, Hypnotist. What do you put face down? He ends up choosing the Dragon's Wager, I believe, here.
Oh. Is it a fake out?
Yeah.
It is.
He almost chooses the Hypnotist, which is one of my favorite cards to put down, but instead chooses that Dragon's Wager.
Yeah,
we saw how that worked out for Jim last match. So
yeah, it's a good choice, but I think having the Hypnotist down would be just slightly give him a slight edge for mode manipulation.
Yeah, that's one of the great benefits of the Hypnotist. Here we've got a couple turns later, or maybe one turn later, Katie plays that Fountain Well, another great card for mode manipulation there.
Yeah, and now she's got 4 whole cards in her Emberscape.
Yeah, and that makes Ransom have to make a tough choice here. He's got 2 cards in his hand. He uses a Martyr as just a regular old mode card, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that can always be disappointing, but not it's not the end of the game, right? Like it's not like a devastating thing to have happen to you. It's just kind of like, I wish that didn't happen.
Yeah, and it's worth noting right now, Katie is in hasty mode, so unless Ransom is able to do something about that, she's going to collect. He could play the Hypnotist. It's a tough choice. It technically would stop Katie's collection, but would that be worth it at this point?
I'd say not. I think he's got to think about how he's going to be collecting next rather than looking to stop Katie because, game's Ambyria, you're going to collect.
Yeah, and we saw that, Katie's got a pretty decent hand size. So if I'm Ransom, I've got to assume that if I take Katie's mode card somewhere in there, she's got an attack mode and she'll just collect 5 cards instead of 3. So a really important skill sometimes in Ambyria is knowing when to prevent a collection and knowing when to just let one happen.
Yeah, and it's really hard to let it happen because every part of your body is screaming, "No, don't do it." But
yeah,
I think
but with that though, another thing to consider is that collection puts Katie down to just 2 arcane cards. So Ransom's gonna have a lot of pressure.
Yeah, a lot of pressure when your opponent has only 2 arcane cards, but your opponent can end the game and you can still win. So that pressure that you're putting on your opponent can quickly flip around and be putting pressure on yourself just by running out of your own arcane cards.
Yes, very true, very true. Here we're going to get to see Ransom finally get to play his Hypnotist, and he'll get a Jewel of Greed for it while he fills up his Emberscape.
Yeah, and now this sort of his face down card is a Dragon's Wager. It sort of takes out some of the potency there because now his Emberscape is full and he can't really capture it.
Right. But, you know, not a bad thing to save it as kind of a little insurance policy in case Katie has the martyr to stop
Right.
him and destroys one. So, you know, always nice to have a backup plan.
Yeah. Plan
But
B.
we see that that's not going to be the case. But a side effect of him filling up his Emberscape was he put Katie back into hasty mode.
Mm-hmm. And she's
Um,
got 3 cards, and she's gonna collect.
yeah, so that allows her to get a collection, get down to her last arcane card. So you know, it's a tough spot to be in still.
Right. And this is one of the best arcane cards you can get. I mean, for your opponent, it's one of the worst arcane cards you can get. But sometimes you never get the arcane card you need, and sometimes you get one that just helps propel you forward, get you closer to that last collection, closer to winning the game. And that's what the Sleeping Potion as an arcane card in a 2-player game does for you.
Yeah, and we're gonna see Katie make good use of it here. She uses her martyr that she has and takes Ransom out of protection mode, and then plays that lethal assassin to destroy that hypnotist, which is 15 points. It's
Half his
pretty
Emberscape.
sad. Yeah, it's not a good card to lose.
Okay.
And now after that, Ransom is asleep from that sleeping potion, so Katie's gonna play again.
Yeah, and like I was saying before, now she's just, on the top of the ladder waiting for Ransom to catch up, and she basically has few wrong choices to make.
Yeah, so she's in hasty mode with 3 cards, and here's where Ransom's face down Dragon's Wager comes in. He gets to flip that before his turn. He doesn't mind discarding that Ancient Sage, and he'll get to fill up and finally get his collection based off of that card he put down there his first or second turn.
Yeah, and this he actually captures a Dragon's Wager, which is always funny when you capture the card or steal the card that you played. But not as good as a Hypnotist, but it's still points, and it's still helping him catch up to where Katie's at with her 2 collections to his 1. And now see if his arcane cards smile on him today.
And it's important to note that Katie's playing the fast game here. So while she is down to 1 arcane card, I think 2 of those arcane cards, no, 1 of those arcane cards was flipped from a Mysterious Elixir, and 2 were hasty mode collections. So it's one of those things where appearances can be deceiving. The game is a lot closer than it looks from that perspective.
Yeah. With the hasty mode collections, you're collecting faster, but remember, you're collecting with less points. Now, Ransom was able to destroy one of Katie's cards using his arcane card, and then Katie plays a Phoenix, which for her, it might have made sense, but also for Ransom, this is really going to help him because he's had very few cards this whole game.
Yeah, it turns out being a little bit of a controversial move by Katie's own admittance. She said a couple of times after this, that Phoenix is gonna be something I regret or something like that. And it almost was. I mean, Ransom was, pretty limited in his choices. I mean, Katie had a small hand size too, but the difference is I think Katie really just needed to have the game end there, whereas Ransom kind of really appreciates this chance of a comeback by getting more cards in his hand.
I think you said it just right. Like, she did have some things that she could have done just to fill her Emberscape, keep Ransom strapped for cards, and keep going. And now Ransom has a whole plethora of choices to make, and most of them very good. You see him here playing a Seductress, and again, preventing Katie from ending and most likely winning the game. Now he's got 4, and she's only got 2.
Yeah, and that's the second turn in a row he's been hanging on by a thread, preventing that last collection from getting there. So, very, very tense position for both players.
Absolutely.
We see that Ransom ends up getting a sleeping potion as well. We've said it a million times, it's a great 5th card for your Emberscape. Yeah,
great 5th card. Now he's got his collection coming up right here. Katie has no face down cards, which would be the one thing that could prevent this from happening. And again, now Katie might not be looking for the end of the game, right?
Yeah, that brings things a lot closer than Katie would like at this point, I think. A kind of unfortunate mode or arcane card there for Ransom, but after the past couple of turns getting some lucky draws with that Lethal Assassin and Seductress, at some point your luck is going to run out.
Right, and he's been playing underdog this game for a bit, so he's now getting to this place where he's kind of even and thinking, can I let her get another collection and still be okay, or do I need to act now? So he does have that Wraith, which could save him that last collection that she has, or basically nullify it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. With his hand, he's got his only other option really could be that Mysterious Elixir, which definitely a gamble. And if he doesn't do anything, Katie collects. She's in attack mode. She's got 4, so
Right.
he does end up choosing that Wraith. I think it was the right move.
Yeah, was it?
Well, he still ended up just a little bit short. Katie ends up winning that game 84 to 73.
Very close.
Yeah, very, very close.
And that's the second matchup in a row we've seen 2 close games. Like the first game, players feeling each other out, and then maybe one figuring out the other.
Yeah, I know I was on the edge of my seat for that one as well, like so many in this round. Getting into game 2, Katie is going to be the black deck. Ransom is going to be the green deck.
What they say, black and green.
They do say that all the time. In this game, we see turn 1 Thief in the Night. This is a great turn 1 play. If you've got a Thief in the Night, it's always great. And sometimes you're rewarded like this. Ransom end up picking up the Protection Martyr from Katie. And
that's tough because you don't want to play a Protection Martyr just to stop someone from playing a Thief in the Night. But now Ransom essentially has two chances to use this card if he draws his own Protection Martyr.
Yeah, Katie plays her own Thief in the Night to try to get it back, and ends up not getting it. And this is, both of these players had to make pretty much the same decision. Do I play the Protection Martyr or do I chance it and not, worked out for Ransom, didn't work out for Katie though. So
yeah.
Sometimes
to
you
be
just
honest,
play the odds.
Ransom shoes, I would have played it. I would have said, now I'm going to use your Protection Martyr against you. I'll get mine later, and haha.
Yeah, and sometimes that is definitely worth it. But ends up working out for him. He hangs on to it, and like you said, he's got his own still left in the deck later on.
Right, because that's what you kind of want to do. If you know someone has a Protection Martyr, you want to bait it out, and Katie wasn't successful in getting to use it, so
right.
That's unfortunate.
But you're right. So when someone has a Protection Martyr, you want them to use it, and that's exactly what Katie continues to do. Next, she plays that Witch, so she's going to force him to use that card. And while the Witch, it's tough because you have to give them some points in order to do it. It does force him to use that. So, Katie is eventually able to get him to do that.
It would have been great if she gave him a Wraith, but she didn't have the Wraith at that time. I was surprised she didn't use the Seductress to try and bait it out. I was wondering if that Witch bait was slightly by accident.
Or, maybe you're just playing the mind games. Or maybe, Ransom wouldn't have bothered to use the Protection Martyr for the Seductress because it's only 1 card, but felt like he had to for the Witch. So,
right.
A lot of factors going into that.
A lot of factors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we have here, Katie's going to play her Poltergeist and fill up her Emberscape. And what this is going to do, it's going to put Ransom, unfortunately for Katie, into hasty mode.
So unfortunate.
Yeah,
but also banking 10 points.
Yes. And she was planning on collecting there, but another unfortunate circumstance for her, Ransom had a Greedy Martyr. So Ransom was able to stop her collection and then get his own instead.
Yes.
And you can see there was that Mysterious Elixir in his Emberscape. So this will end up being his second arcane card.
Yeah, and so he's moving right along. It looks like he's controlling the game, but you look at that Emberscape that Katie has out there. That is a deadly Emberscape. Whole ton of points in there. But then again, that Sleeping Potion Arcane card comes out, and basically that her Emberscape might as well be empty now.
Yeah, and this makes things very, very tough for Katie because not only does Ransom get to play a card here, he's in hasty mode, so he plays the Seductress, which fills up to 3 again, and now Katie's asleep. So unless she has a martyr, she's got nothing to do there. So that worked out very, very well for Ransom.
Yeah, and that's how that's how you play Ambyria. That's how you play Ambyria really good.
So this was definitely a fast mode game. The scores, Ransom won 49-10, very, very low scoring game. And that's sometimes what happens. You got to go with that speedy mode sometimes when you get the opportunity.
Yeah, and if you counted up her Emberscape that she didn't get to collect, that was easily 30 points. So
absolutely, yeah.
So close.
Yeah. So another game 3, Katie with the yellow deck, Ransom with the red deck.
And I don't think I can describe to you how much pressure is on these game 3s when both players are up. So here's our second game 3 of round 2.
Yeah. What happens in this game 3 is, very exciting. Something we see all the time is both players are putting a lot of mode pressure on each other. You see Ransom has a Poltergeist in his Emberscape. Katie was forced to mode again. She played a Poltergeist. Now Ransom is forced to mode again. And you'll see he has another Poltergeist in his hand. So we've got a lot of mode pressure coming from both sides here.
Yeah, but you'll notice that Katie played an Elf Foreman on her first turn. You can see that because it's the leftmost card in her Emberscape, and now she has a ton of cards to work with. So that puts her in a much better position than Ransom at this point. But Ransom does have a face-down card, which is tactically stronger.
Yeah, it's also worth noting for the hand size, while Katie played the Elf Foreman, playing the Magician's Tactic uses 2 cards from your hand in the same turn. You play the Magician and another card face down. So, kind of going in opposite directions there. Ransom going lower in hand size, Katie going in higher. So, although that mode pressure is there for both of them, Ransom's feeling it a lot more than Katie.
Maybe they just want to play to different planets.
That's a reference to one of our other games, Stellar Siege, for all those viewers who have no idea why Ben said that.
I like to hide in little Easter eggs for you to
The fans appreciate it, for sure. So here we've got Katie playing her Deceptive Trader. So just another form of trying to control mode during this game here. And what she's trying to do is, if you see in her hand, she's got that witch. She has to take Ransom out of protection mode if she wants to use it. So this is a great example of planning ahead. In Ambyria, you can't plan 10 turns ahead, but you do plan a couple turns ahead. And this is great awareness that if she wants to use that witch, she's going to have to do that.
And what did Ransom just slip her?
Well, unfortunately, Ransom had his face down card. Ransom flipped his own witch. And played a martyr to get Katie out of protection mode herself. So, plan backfired a little bit, but it was great planning ahead from her part, especially seeing as Ransom's hand size was so low.
And Ransom could have responded to the Deceptive Trader and not used that martyr, but I think he had his reasons at this point.
Yeah, that's a good point. That would have been an option. Also, sometimes, especially a game 3, high pressure, maybe sometimes you don't realize all those nuances as well.
Yeah, for sure. But he does steal this Elf Foreman, which he desperately needs.
Well, yes, I think that was his initial plan. I think what we're going to see, though, is a change of heart, and instead he ends up stealing the Deceptive Trader, and that is actually very important because the martyr he put onto Katie was an attack mode martyr, and that witch was a face down card.
Yeah, and but he is still not in protection mode at this point, and on this turn he cannot play
Well, he can play that Deceptive Trader.
Yeah, he can't play a mode card on his mode phase because of the previous Deceptive Trader. So he needs that card.
Yeah, and that Deceptive Trader fills his Emberscape and switches him into attack mode and collects. So, there was a lot of moving parts to that turn, but, take Katie out of protection mode, steal her Deceptive Trader, then play it to go into attack mode himself, flawless execution there. It took a little bit of brain power to do it, but,
and
great play.
The level of playing it takes to figure out that kind of move, that's some Ambyria World Championship material right there.
Yeah, and we'll see if that actually ends up being the case. We talked about Katie trying to plan her future turns that, that last time it didn't work out as she planned. So this time electing for a face down Mysterious Elixir, which I think is, another plan to maybe sneakily use 2 arcane cards in the same turn.
Yeah. Like we've seen before, sometimes that arcane card does not fill the Emberscape, but there is a good chance that it will. And now Ransom has another witch. So
yeah, and here's one of my favorite parts of this set. Katie's not in protection mode, and she's about to have the witch affect her, and she says, "Let me flip my Mysterious Elixir. Let's see what happens." And the Deceptive Trader.
Yeah, and it's just shows another use for a face down Mysterious Elixir. You never quite know how it's going to work out. Unfortunately, you never quite know how it's going to work out. And Ransom had a martyr to deal with her with.
Yeah, so without that martyr, that would have been it still was an amazing play.
Yeah,
it was just also amazing for Ransom that he happened to have that martyr to allow that witch to keep going. But when that Deceptive Trader got flipped over, I was not on the stream or on the Discord because I was being the ref of the game, but I literally shouted when that Deceptive Trader flipped, even though no one was listening.
Yeah, I think that you should probably always play this game assuming your opponent has a witch in hand, because if they do and you're not prepared for it, you just saw what happens.
Yeah, it also helps to know which decks have more or less witches. Yellow's got 3, red's got 2, so you got to assume that they're coming. If they don't have them at the moment, they're going to have them.
Absolutely.
So here we've got an interesting play. Ransom down to 2 arcane cards, plays the face down, or plays the Magician's Tactic, and he's going to choose, I believe he's going to choose Calderon from his hand here to put face down.
And that's an odd choice, but not a bad choice. It does keep your hero pretty safe, but playing a hero face down isn't necessarily as powerful as playing any other card face down, because you don't get to use it so much as an interrupt.
And I think there's another reason that a lot of people often don't talk about for putting a face down card. I can't perfectly see what's in Ransom's hand, but I don't think he has anything to get Katie to stop that collection. Sometimes putting a face down card just makes your opponent too afraid to go into attack mode. And we see it. Katie was not deterred. She was not afraid of this face down card, but sometimes I know I get a little bit afraid to go into attack mode if my opponent's got a face down card. So I think that also might have been part of Ransom's plan there, even though it did not deter that collection.
And I think, in this kind of high level tournament play is when we start getting to those more obscure rules. But if you are being afraid of a face down card and you're watching the cards carefully, you know that at this point Ransom used both his witches. And now she should be safe from witches. So you get that sort of card counting component to Ambyria right there.
Yeah, so that would bring both of them down to 2 arcane cards left. Ransom's got 2 face down cards at this point. Plays a Dragon's Wager, which will fill up his Emberscape. So he's trying to put a lot of pressure on Katie on this end game, trying to fill up his Emberscape and get that much closer to a collection.
But he's trying to take her whole deck.
Yeah, that's something that a lot of people struggled with.
Yeah, I mean,
Taking one card versus the whole deck.
we shouldn't entirely ignore the fiddliness of trying to play in Tabletop Simulator. It is a really great tool, and I think we're having a lot of fun with it, and enables us to have this tournament. But sometimes it's just like, I really just want to move this one card. Why can't I just use my fingers?
Yeah, and now we're going to see one of those obscure rules that you had mentioned before. He plays Calderin, and his Emberscape is already full. So for those that don't know, Calderon's effect is you can play the top card of your deck. When in Ambyria you are playing a card that you don't know what it is, so either in Dark Magic or an Arcane card or from Calderin, those cards you don't know what they are before you play them. So you always flip it over, and if it's supposed to go into an Emberscape that's already full, it just goes into the discard pile. You don't get the effect. But if it was something like a Devious Serpent that plays into your discard pile, then you could still get those effects. So for those wondering why he did that, that was his rationale there. He might have gotten a card that could have done something for him.
And that Mirror of Lost Souls would have been really good there if he had gotten it. And not to mention, it helps you draw through your deck.
That too. Or you could get a Martyr or something, or maybe your Wraith to stick in there, Emberscape. You never know what you're going to get with Calderin. But that's kind of the point of the red deck. Yeah. You never know what's going to happen.
So this is, again, game 3, and it looks like Ransom is in a pretty good spot right here.
Yeah, but you can't count Katie out at this point, though. She's got a couple of cards in her Emberscape here. She manages to get the Horn of Geldenland out, which is going to put some pressure on Ransom. He's going to have to play a mode card every turn, so he's going to have some tough times with the low number of cards in his hand compared to Katie. Yeah,
absolutely. So right now it looks like he's trying to decide what to Jewel of Greed, and he goes for that. What was it? The snake.
Yeah, he collected the Devious Serpent. Yeah, and he's got 2 Mirror of Lost Souls in his hands. Not much on the field other than the Jewel of Greed to use them with.
But he is in hasty mode.
Yeah, and he flips over this spell book and takes Katie's mode card.
Which prevents her from collecting.
Yes, it does prevent her from collecting, but it does put her into attack mode, which is a little bit risky.
And like we were talking about before, knowing how many witches are in each deck, we know that the yellow deck has 3, and you can pretty much always assume that your opponent has a witch in hand.
But or if you're the yellow deck, a Seductress. Which...
Yeah, Katie opts for the Seductress instead of the witch, bringing her 5 cards and allowing her to collect.
Yeah, so Katie was going to collect with 3 cards in hasty mode, now collects 5. So this is like what we said before. Sometimes it's important to know when to just allow the collection to happen. So Katie ends up collecting a little bit more than she would have otherwise, and that brings both of these players down to 1 arcane card. Very, very close game.
Yeah, very close.
We can see here that at the end, Ransom plays his mysterious elixir that he has here. When this game was happening live, I was a little bit unsure of how this was going to work for him. I was a little bit unsure who was ahead, so it seemed a little bit risky to me. But it does end up being the right choice for him, because he won game 3, 149 to 117. So close game to be sure. Yeah. But that mysterious elixir secured him the win.
Yeah, I would have been very nervous if I were in his shoes to just end the game like that. But I guess he has a handle on his nerves and wasn't too nervous.
Yes, he was not too nervous to play the mysterious elixir, and that means he will be facing Jim in the semifinals.
All right, so Ransom versus Jim in the semifinals. That's definitely going to be one to watch. I mean, Jim has done outstanding in the first 2 rounds and gotten out of some tight spaces. And on Ransom's side, we just covered his game, or his matchup, and he did really well. And he also did well in the first round. So that's going to be one of the 2 matches in the semifinals.
Yeah, I believe both of Jim's previous matches went to 3 games. One of Ransom's went to 3 games, so they've already been involved in some close matches. I expect this one coming up to be fantastic.